Hello students, today we'll start a chapter 2nd for class 4th science, that is adaptations in plants. Now what is the meaning of adaptation? Adaptations are the special features which are developed by plants and animals to be able to grow in a particular climate. Okay, so in this chapter we will read about adaptation, adaptation in terrestrial plants, adaptation in aquatic plants, and adaptation for protection. So let us start with the first topic, that is adaptation. Plants and animals live in different climates. They develop special features to be able to grow in their particular climate. These special features is called adaptation. Now I want to ask you some questions. Can a polar bear live in a dense forest? No. Can a camel live on snow? No. Can a lotus grow on land? No. Can a cactus grow in water? The answer is no, because all the plants and animals can live in a particular climate only. Okay, so these plants and animals, they develop some special features to grow in that particular climate. Like the cactus and camel, they live in deserts. So there is a scarcity of water in desert, so they store the water. So they storing the water in their body is the adaptation. Okay, the specific place where a plant or an animal lives is called habitat. For example, a cactus living in desert. So for cactus, the desert is the habitat. A polar bear living in polar region. So for the polar bear, the polar region is the habitat. Moving on to our next topic, that is adaptation in plants. Plants growing in different places are different from each other. The adaptations in plants depend upon their surrounding, types of soil, temperature and rainfall. Now different plants grow in different area. The different area have different climatic condition. Soil is also different, surrounding is different, temperature is different and rainfall is also different. So on the basis of habitat, plants are divided into two groups. One is the terrestrial plants and the other one is aquatic plants. Firstly, we'll read about the adaptations in terrestrial plants. Now what is the meaning of terrestrial plants? The plants that grow on land are called terrestrial plants. Now all the plants which grow on land are known as the terrestrial plants. Now on land also they are growing in different places. Some plants grow on hills and mountains, some in plains, some in marshy area and some in deserts. So now we'll read about each and every category in detail. Firstly, we'll read about the adaptation in hilly and mountain areas plants. Plants growing on hills and mountains have shorter stem. They have needle-like leaves and bear cones instead of flowers. As you can see in the picture, second picture, cones instead of flowers. The plants which grow on mountains have cones, and these plants which grow on mountains, they have shorter stem and the shape of the plant is conical, and that's why they are known as conifers. Just like you have seen the Christmas tree, the shape of a Christmas tree is of a cone, so that's why the plants which grow on hills and mountains are known as conifers. Examples are given. Plants like cedar, spruce, pine and fir grow on hills and mountains. Moving on to our next category, that is plains. Plants growing in plains like banyan, peepal, mango are big trees with many branches. Now the plants which grow in plains like banyan, peepal, mango, they have big branches. Their leaves are big and broad. The leaves of these plants are big and broad, and it helps the plant to remain cool during summer. These trees shed their leaves in winter and grow new leaves in spring season. These type of trees or plants which grow in plains, they shed their leaves in winter and new leaves are grown in spring season. Okay. So moving on to our next category, that is marshy area. Marshy areas have sticky and clayey soil. Plants growing in marshy area are called mangroves. To get air, their roots come out of the soil. These roots are called breathing roots. Now the plants which grow in marshy area are known as the mangroves. Now what is the meaning of marshy area? Marshy area means a lot of water is there, waterlogged soil is there. Just like you can see in the picture. Yes, the soil is very sticky and clayey, and the roots, to get the air to breathe, they come out of the soil, just like you can see in the picture, and that's why they are known as breathing roots. To get air, their roots come out of the soil. These roots are called the breathing roots. Example of mangrove is the rhizophora plant. Moving on to our next category, that is deserts. Now we all know cactus grow in deserts. They store water in their stem. Because there is scarcity of water, sufficient water is not available. That's why the cactus plant store the water in the stem and become fleshy. They have short and spiny leaves to reduce the loss of water. Now we all know during photosynthesis water vapor is released. So to reduce the loss of water, they convert their leaves into spines. They have a long root system that goes deep into the ground to get water. The root system is very long to go deep down under the ground to get the water. They have slow growth. Cacti and babul are common desert plants. These are the example of desert plant. Moving on. Now these were the terrestrial plants. Plants which grow on hills and mountains, plains, marshy area and deserts. But they grow on land. So these are the terrestrial plants adaptations. Now we will read about the adaptations in aquatic plants. Now what is the meaning of aquatic plants? The plants growing in water are called the aquatic plants. Aquatic plants are of three types: free floating plants, fixed floating plants and submerged plants. Okay, so now we will read about this in detail. Firstly, we will read about the free floating plants. Free floating plants are small, light and spongy. They have air spaces between the cells. Like you can see in the picture, both the plant, water lettuce and water hyacinth, they are floating in water. And why they are floating? Because their body, the plant body is very light. They are very small and spongy. They have air spaces between the cell. That's why they are very light in weight. The roots of this plant do not reach the water bed, and the roots of this plant, they do not reach the water bed or the soil which is present in the water bed. So that's why they are freely floating plants. Example: water lettuce, duckweed and water hyacinth. Next is fixed floating plants. Fixed floating plants have hollow and lightweight stem to help them float. Their leaves are broad and have stomata on upper surface. Usually the stomata is present on lower surface, but they are growing in water. They are aquatic plants, so their stomata is present on the upper side. They have long roots and are rooted to the soil on the water bed. In free floating, they were freely floating, but the roots were not reaching the water bed. But in fixed floating plants, the roots are attached to the water bed. For example, lotus and water lily. Next is submerged plants. Submerged plants grow completely under the water. Their leaves are long and tapered. Like freely floating were floating on the water, fixed were, the roots were attached to the water bed, but submerged plants grow completely inside the water. Their leaves are long and tapered. Very thin leaves are there. Long thin leaves are present. They do not have any stomata. Exchange of gases takes place through the surface of plant body. Through the plant body only the exchange of gases take place. For example, hydrilla and tape grass. Both these plants are submerged plants. They grow inside water. Now last category of our chapter is adaptation for protection. Just like animals, plants also have enemies. Plants have developed different types of adaptation to save themselves from enemies. So to protect ourselves from enemy, we also develop some special features. Animals also develop some special features. Similarly, plants also develop some special features to protect themselves from enemy. Plants like yam produce poisonous fruits. Some plants like babul and pumpkin have fine hair on their stem and leaves. This fine hair on their body creates itching on the animal or any human being who is touching that plant. Some plants like pineapple, rose, etc. develop thorns on their stems, just like you can see in the pictures. These plants, pineapple, rose, they develop these thorns so that nobody could touch it. Okay, so these were the protections in the plants. Now we will start a book exercise. Our first question is, tick the correct answer. The place where a plant lives and grows is called its habitat, habit, plains, environment. The answer is habitat. Our next question is, the plants growing and living in water are called aquatic plants, desert plants, marshy plants or hilly plants. The plants which grow in water are the aquatic plants. Leaves of fixed floating plants have stomata on upper surface, stomata on their lower surface, stomata on both the surface and no stomata. Just now we read stomata on the upper surface. Moving on to our next question. Classify the following into terrestrial and aquatic plants. You have to classify the plant whether it is terrestrial or it is aquatic. So first is tap grass. Tap grass is a submerged aquatic plant. So it is aquatic plant. Pine tree grows on land. So that's why they are terrestrial plant. Mango tree that again grow on land are the terrestrial plants. Water hyacinth, that is aquatic plant. Hydrilla is again a aquatic plant. And the last is cactus. Cactus again grow on land, so it is a terrestrial plant. So the last question, write true or false. The lotus flower grows on land. The answer is false. Lotus flower grows in water. Cacti have big and broad leaves. The answer is false. Why? Because cacti leaves changes into spine, and big and broad leaves are the plants in which grow in plains. A large number of leaves help in keeping the big trees cool in summer. The answer is true, because a lot of water vapor is released during the photosynthesis. Trees on hill bear cones instead of flowers. The answer is true. Bubble plant grows in water. Bubble plant is an example of plant which grows in desert, and again it is a terrestrial plant, so it do not grow in water, so it is false. So students, by this we have completed our second chapter